All it takes is this spice blend, onions, garlic, and chicken, and in a little under an hour, you can have an amazing African chicken stew. Welcome back to Season Liberally. YouTube is full of the recipe bait and switch. All I did was add flour to boiling water. Yeah, and you added 15 ingredients and 3 cooking methods. This is not going to be one of those videos. Today, we're going to be making a simple and amazing chicken stew, Doro Wat. It's a spicy, deeply flavorful dish from Ethiopia. It technically has 6 ingredients, but that's counting water, and it's also counting a spice blend called berbere, which is a blend of 10 different spices. But berbere can be made at home, or you can buy it pre-blended in places like Penzeys or the Spice House. And I don't endorse or get money from either of those, and I haven't tried their versions. I just want to let you know that you can buy it if you want to.
So let's get started. First, we're going to get our mise en place together. We need to blend our berbere if we didn't have a blend already. I have a coffee grinder that has these attachment containers specifically for spices. Some of the spices I have are already ground, but the ones that need to be ground are basil, cardamom, coriander, and cumin. I grind this until it's finely ground. Next, I mix together the rest of the spices. Here I have cayenne pepper, smoked paprika, and sweet paprika. To that, I'll add granulated garlic, granulated onion, and ground ginger. I add my ground spices and stir with a fork until it's nicely combined. Now, this recipe calls for 1/4 to a 1/2 cup of this spice blend. I use about 3/8 of a cup or 1/4 cup and then 1/2 of that, or you can just measure out 6 tablespoons. I usually make a lot of this spice blend and I put it in an old spice container so I can use it later for other dishes. Learning about spice blends can really improve your improvisational cooking skills. Different cultures from around the world use very different blends of spices. And when you know how to use them and what staples to cook them with, you can create without a recipe. Now, we need 2 pounds of red onion, but you can just use 3 large red onions. That'll totally work. We're going to need to dice these, and this is a perfect opportunity to practice your knife skills. If you're in a hurry, you can instead use a food processor, but make sure to process them until they're finely cut. This recipe calls for 10 cloves of garlic. The garlic I had was very large, so I only used 6. Mince this until it's fine. Next, we're using boneless, skinless chicken thighs for this. If you have skin on and bone in, you should remove both the skin and the bone. Also, trim the thigh meat. They will often have this large, fatty deposit that I like to slice off. The thighs in this recipe will be added to the liquid, so you won't have an opportunity to really melt off any of that fat that's on the meat. If you leave the fat on, it'll be unsightly and unappetizing when cooked. Once trimmed, I cut the thighs in half. Start by heating a large, heavy-bottom pot over medium-high heat and add a couple of tablespoons of ghee to that pot. You can make the ghee yourself by clarifying the butter and let some of the solids brown, or you can buy ghee at the store pre-made. Add your onions and cook over medium-high heat, stirring frequently. Now you need to cook them for about 10 to 15 minutes until they are browning on the edges and reduced down. I added some salt here to draw the moisture out of the onions and help them brown. I've seen versions of this recipe where the onions are cooked until they are completely caramelized, but this version of Doro Wat is more of a quick version. Caramelizing the onions is going to take a lot more time. Once the onions are cooked, we add in another 3 tablespoons of ghee and our garlic. I cook that for about a minute until it's fragrant. Then I drop in the berbere. I stir this around and let the spices toast in the pan a little. Give it a moment to cook, and then I add 3/4 of a cup of water and stir to mix in the spices totally into this dish. Now layer in your chicken and give it a stir. This is going to actually feel a little dry, and that's normal. The chicken's going to release a lot of liquid into this, so don't worry. Cover the pan and reduce the heat to low so it's at a simmer. Let this cook for 30 minutes. Once 30 minutes has elapsed, you can remove the cover and turn up the heat. Now look how much liquid is in this pan. I added nothing to this. At a medium-high heat, you're going to reduce the sauce. Now, it's important to not add any more salt until the sauce is completely reduced. When cooking reduction sauces, you are reducing down the liquid and concentrating the flavor. So if something is properly seasoned before it's reduced, chances are that removing the water will make it taste over-seasoned. Reduction sauces are also crucial to improvisational cooking. Learning how to do this properly will help you deepen the flavor and texture of sauces that you make. The sauce really only has the onion that is now liquefying as the thickener. So keep stirring until you evaporate enough liquid to properly thicken the sauce. It'll take about 5 to 8 minutes to thicken. You'll know it's ready when you drag a spatula through the sauce and it leaves a clean space in your pan that isn't immediately filled by sauce. When the sauce is ready, you can serve this immediately. You can serve it with hard-cooked eggs, scallion, fresh cilantro, and flatbread. Either injera, which is an Ethiopian flatbread that is like a sourdough spongy pancake, or you can serve it with naan.
All right, so we have our Doro Wat. So you can see it's got this gorgeous red color. Now that deep red color comes from the 2 types of paprika that we put in here and the cayenne pepper. That gives it its really beautiful color. The sauce is, you can see that it's cooked down. It really added a beautiful texture to this sauce. Let me give it a try. It's just an absolute explosion of flavor. The sauce itself has an amazing consistency. Really smooth. The texture of the meat, it's got the really, really soft, tender, melt in your mouth feel. Feels like it cooked for a very long time. It's got a very rich onion flavor too. And then you catch the spices, and the spices are very unique. So it's not that each spice itself is in particular very unique, but the blend of these spices together, the ginger, the basil, the 2 types of paprika, the cayenne pepper, the cardamom, the cumin, the coriander, all that goes together. So there's floral notes, there's sweet notes, there's that spicy note. Really just amazing. Now, if it's a little too spicy for you, you can add hard-cooked egg to this. You could just drop some hard-cooked eggs in there, room temperature or cool. It'll basically be a sink for that heat. You take a bite of the Doro Wat and then a little bit of the egg, and it will just really just flush that heat out of your mouth so you don't have that really massive, over-hot flavor. Now, this is traditionally eaten with bread. You would use the bread as a scoop to sort of scoop in, grab a piece, and then eat the bread along with it. So it's almost like an edible spoon. Really an amazing dish all around. I hope you give this a try. It certainly is very accessible Ethiopian cuisine. Please like, share, subscribe. I know I say that every time, but really, genuinely, it helps the channel, so please do so. All right, thanks for watching. Season liberally.